Hey, Jared here. Today we're talking about the two-step formula to ending emotional eating. It's more of a theory approach, and then later on in the video, I'll go into some practical tips about how you can finally stop emotional eating, stop filling that pain in your heart with food. So let's get into the theory. The theory is useful because it identifies the core problem. Sometimes when people try to stop emotionally eating, they're using strategies like willpower. Like, oh, I'll just avoid that food, or I just won't eat that tonight, or oh, I'm just not going to buy that food. And these work for a short amount of time, but perhaps you know that when you get that pain in your heart or that stress in your body, eventually there's a tipping point where you say you give in, quote unquote. You eat emotionally to feel better. Let's look at the core problem. The core problem is not actually feeling bad. Because sometimes you might eat when you're not even feeling bad. You don't even know why you're eating. The core problem, and the first step, remember there's two steps. The first step is knowing what emotional need you need. So I have a book right here. It's called Nonviolent Communication by Rosenberg. I first got exposed to this in counseling psychology back at Santa Clara University. And this class exposed me to how I did not know, I was not aware that I had needs that weren't being met. So it is totally possible that you do not know your needs, that you are not aware of what your valid needs are. For example, in my journey, I did not think loneliness. That might seem really obvious to you, that loneliness or the lack of companionship, the need for companionship, the need for belonging, I did not know that was a valid need. There's a bunch of different reasons why we have a hard time understanding our own needs. It can be to childhood, parenting, upbringing, environment, culture, a bunch of different reasons. But the point is, you have these valid emotional needs. And I'm gonna read a bunch of them to give you an example. This is from Marshall Rosenberg's Nonviolent Communication. I want to read this list to you because you might realize that these are needs. You do have the right to these. And if you're emotionally eating, you might be missing out. You are missing out on one of these. That's the theory. Theory is if you have an unmet emotional need, you're going to fill it through food. Now there's more to that second step, filling it with food. I'll go into that in a little bit, but let me first read these emotions. So if you look right here, if you're reading the podcast, there's about 8 groups, and then under each group there's a few different needs. So let's go through these 8 groups real quick. Autonomy, that's a need. To choose one's dreams, goals, and values. I'm just going to read one example underneath each one. Celebration, to celebrate losses, loved ones, dreams, and mourning. To be able to celebrate sadness. And also to celebrate the creation of life and dreams fulfilled. Integrity, which is authenticity, creativity, meaning, self-worth. These are all needs that you need. Interdependence is something like contribution to life or community, closeness, feeling connected. And then there's play, which is having fun and laughter and joy. Spiritual communion, feeling in harmony with life. Inspiration, there's a order. Physical nurturance, these are a lot. Movement, protection from life-threatening diseases, rest, sexual expression, shelter, touch, water, air. So these are all needs. That's the first part of this whole formula. I'm going to put this book away now. First part of ending emotional eating is understanding what need you have. If you don't understand what need you have, you aren't going to be able to heal or to meet that need or to fulfill that need. Like for me with loneliness, I did not know I was lonely. I had built up defense mechanisms for 20 years that prevented me from consciously realizing I was lonely. But my life never got better. I started smoking weed. I started distracting myself through obsessive amounts of chess. You know, the board game chess where you move pieces. 5, 6, 7 hours a day I was alone in my room. I was obviously lonely, but I did not recognize it. And it was only through various insights, small steps, and community that I started honoring and being able to become aware of this need. As I became aware of this need, my habits towards food and how I treated myself and how I socialized with others, these all started to change after I became aware of my need. This is where working with a therapist, counselor, coach can really, really help you. You know, sometimes it's hard to see your own needs. And I've done tons of coaching, tons of therapy. It's really helped me out. It's really important to be able to identify the needs. Now, the second part of the second step is filling those needs, meeting those needs, nurturing those needs, healing those needs. So what happens for most people is that they don't know their emotional need, and then they don't know how to fill it either. It's like, imagine if I told you that there was a huge chunk of gold, the size of my fist, worth millions of dollars, and it was underneath, and I said, is underneath that tree over there. So just dig a foot underground, and you're going to find this huge gold nugget, you know, of food, or of gold, and it's going to make you rich. So you, for some reason, misunderstand my directions. You go to the wrong tree. And then you dig underneath that tree, and you feel very frustrated. Like, why aren't I finding the gold? You might dig 5 feet deep all around the tree, expand it like in the movie Holes, just digging 5 by 5 holes, just huge holes. You never find the gold nugget. You waste all this time. That's what it's like when you don't know your own emotional needs. You try to fill it with food, because nothing else works. Food temporarily makes you feel better, temporarily. Do you see how you're searching for something? If you're feeling emotionally wounded, you're searching for something, an unmet need. Let's say play. Let's say you need more joy in your life, more play, more connection and having fun. Maybe you need more of that in your life. That's a need. Maybe you have none of that. And so you're feeling this pain in your life, and you just want the pain to go away. So you eat food to make the pain go away. The pain comes back because the only way to meet a need is to meet the need. Like, if you need to play more, you can't fill the need of play through food. You have to play. You have to play. The same thing with companionship. You can't fill the pain of a lack of companionship with food. You have to fill it with companionship. So oftentimes we don't know the emotional need, and not knowing the emotional need then prevents us from filling the need. So that's why it's really, really important that we can understand the messages of our body. Because our body is going to tell us in different ways what need it needs. Now you might you might think like, well, I know a lot of my problems. I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I get stressed out, I overthink things, I'm hard on myself. And you might confuse those problems with emotional needs. In my experience, helping people with this, it's really hard for people to look at their needs. It's really hard for someone to say that their needs are important, that their needs matter, and that their emotional needs are directly tied to their health, to well-being, to weight gain, weight loss, that whole thing. It's really hard for people to kind of grasp that meeting these unmet emotional needs is the most important thing. It is the most important thing, especially if you're an emotional eater. Oftentimes you might be given a bandaid solution. Just stop it. Just meditate. Just journal. But these are all great techniques. But again, if you need play in your life, the only way to fill that need for play is to play. No amount of journaling, unless you're having a blast journaling, which journaling can be kind of fun, don't get me wrong. But unless you're having a blast journaling, you're not going to meet that need of play. Sometimes people, again, they feel that pain. They know what the pain is, anxiety, for example. They know they're socially anxious. They know they're awkward. I can relate to that. I've been awkward my whole life. I still am. And so tremendous pain comes up when you think about social anxiety. Maybe someone says to you, just breathe. Just take deep breaths. Just, relax. Let it go. Just be yourself. That's great. But you still need to get the need met. Social anxiety comes from a fear of belonging. You still need to belong to get your need met. Just taking away the pain doesn't meet your need. The pain is going to come back. That's what we got to realize, is that you might be able to mitigate the pain, and that's important. It is important. But unless you fulfill the pain will always be there. You have to get your emotional needs met. Whether you're working with a therapist, a coach, someone who can help you identify them, that's great. But you got to get these needs met. There's just no way around it. Now, what happens for some people who are this textbook definition of emotional eating is that they feel pain. The only way they know how to manage pain is through food. They know how to make the pain go away by eating food. If that's you, one of the first steps you need to do is actually practicing some coping skills to rewire your brain so that your pain goes down. This might mean journaling. I know you've tried journaling before, but when you see it in this way, where you journal to reduce your pain, that's great. Now, if you're journaling, after you start journaling to reduce your pain, if you're an emotional eater, you've only used food to cope, and then you start to journal to decrease your pain, to vent, to get your thoughts out on paper, to vent and just not get trapped in your head. You then have to step back. The journaling creates separation for you to understand what you need. If you're an emotional eater, oftentimes you're eating to cover up the pain, but you don't know the need underneath the pain. So when you first start to heal, you need to diminish the pain by meditating, taking hot showers, going on walks, doing gentle yoga, listening to music, journaling, talking to friends, again, coach, therapist, I'm here for you. You need to mitigate the pain. That's important. And when you mitigate the pain, when you decrease the pain, when you bring down the pain, and I can help you with that, you're going to be able to listen and hear your body's messages. When your body is screaming in pain because of an unmet need, it hurts too much. It hurts too much, so you go to food. You're drawn to food like a moth is to a flame. It's your body's instinct. You have to go. So you got to mitigate the pain. You're still going to have cravings for food, don't get me wrong. But you're going to be able to have that little bit of space to reflect and learn from your body, listen to your body, and think. When you create time for yourself and create a block of time for you to feel safe in your body and for you to reflect, you're going to be able to piece together. You're going to be able to kind of see the big picture of what emotional need you're missing. And again, having someone ask you kind of questions to help uncover the emotional need is a really great idea. So then you're an emotional eater, you start to journal, mitigate the pain, you're reflecting, you're learning about your body and what you're actually needing. Then it's small steps, right? You had an insight into what you actually needed, and then it's small steps, compassionate steps where you learn and get feedback and don't beat yourself up, and you take small steps to get your need met. And this is how we solve emotional eating. That's the only way. It's the only way. You have to get the need met. So, what I'm doing is I'm doing a pick your own adventure. This is a separate topic. I'm doing a pick your own adventure. This is something really exciting that I'm excited to share with people. I am focusing on body, mind, and soul. So when you think about this stuff, what comes up for you? Does healing your body, feeling good in your body come up for you? Or maybe it's more mental, getting rid of obsessive thoughts, having peace of mind with your kind of like your self-esteem, feeling motivated. Maybe it's your soul. Do you accept yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you see how you belong in this, how you actually do belong in this crazy world? There is a dieting world out there, and it's important that you feel like you belong. You can go to free strategy session, weightlossenlightenment.com/free strategy session, and pick one of those. You'll get a video and a worksheet and a complimentary call with me. Have a good day. Peace.